Here we go, girl.
So you guys, to start out our episode today, we'd like to leave you with a little musical message.
Hey!
Oh, you've been trying to see life too seriously, that's tragic. You must learn how to smile through the eyes of a child, there's the magic. So if you're wondering about Wonderland, stop your wondering and take my hand. Look with love and you'll understand. Here is Wonderland.
Yes, it is.
You've made it to Wonderland. You guys, welcome to our 4th episode of
One World, One People,
a musical revolution. My name is Jenisa Castro. I'm an actor, singer, dancer, and teacher, and my goal in life is to change the world through my art.
And my name is Gregg Castro, and I'm a singer, songwriter, entertainer, and proud citizen of the planet Earth, and my music is all about that.
Yes, it is indeed.
So, let me tell you about our show. This is a 10-episode weekly series where we feature guests from around the planet, and each week we discuss issues that are important to each and every one of us. And we do this in this world of differences with hopes that we can find the common ground. And fortunately, I'm a musician and a storyteller, so we get to use my songs every week.
Yes, indeed. And in addition, every episode we are taking donations. And 20% of those donations for each episode goes to a different organization, charity, or foundation. And you'll be able to find the donation link in the description below. So make sure you click on that link because today's organization is the OC Black Chamber.
And today's song is Could Not Look Away, a personal look at the events of 9/11.
And today's guest is Bobby McDonald. Before we introduce our guests for this episode today, we would obviously like to talk about the universal language of music.
Yes,
because this is a music show, we're going to talk about music. Specifically, we want to talk today about this song called Message in Our Music by the OJs, because it did come up in our interview.
So everyone knows that there's a message in every song. There is a message in the music. And today we want to encourage our listeners, whenever you hear your favorite song,
Whenever you hear any song.
yes, listen more closely, listen more deeply to the message in the music.
Yes, indeed. And now introducing Mr. Bobby McDonald. I love this. Woo! Yay! So everyone, we have Mr. Bobby McDonald here from the OC Black Chamber. Bobby, we're so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you. I mean, I love that musical interlude to get us started. That's pretty neat.
Yes, right.
Hey, it's a patriotic interlude there.
I'll take it. Send me an MP3 of that, okay? I love that. That's a great intro.
You know,
I'm honored to be here.
We're so happy to see you. I wanted to let everybody know that not only are you the CEO of the Orange County Black Chamber, but you're also a proud Vietnam veteran and an all-around nice guy. You're a music lover.
I'll take that.
And that's partly what our program is about. One world, one people, a musical revolution. And so we in our conversation, we just love to weave the fact that music is the universal language that ties us together.
And Bobby, that actually takes me very nicely into our first question. It's a discussion about the universal language of music, but something that me and my dad were talking about, and you'll know a lot about this because you work with these communities. There are so many different kinds of music you can find around Orange County, and it's really the thing that brings people together, that brings communities together, that brings us together on one common human level. So I was hoping that you had something to say on that in terms of what you've seen in Orange County and the universal language of music.
Well, music is, there's always a message in your music. And we started a group a while back called the Orange County President's Council, which was a group of 27 ethnic business and chambers and organizations here in the county, which include the Hispanic Chamber, the Asian Business Association, the Vietnamese Chamber, Korean Chamber, Chinese, et al. Okay?
Right.
And I was very, very fortunate, and you talk about music, I was very, very fortunate to go to a lot of those, their events, their annual events. And there's always a different shade of music.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate doing one Asian Pacific Islander. And I told him that there was a gentleman by the name of Howard Loving. And he was a Buffalo soldier that was stationed a musician that was stationed in the Philippines. And when he got transferred, and he was a great cornet player, great composer. When he decided they decided moving back to the United States, he had loved that Philippine culture. So the Secretary of Secretaries in that time was Taft. And when Taft became president, he got word to Trooper Loving and said, I would like for you to compose some music for me for my inauguration.
Wow.
Sweet.
At this function, I also said, because 6 months later, President Manuel Quezon, who was the president of the Philippines at the time, was coming to the United States to meet with President Taft at the White House. So President Taft again called Trooper Loving and said, compose some music, please, for this wonderful occasion.
Yeah.
President Quezon loved the music so much, he took it back to the Philippines, and that music is the Filipino national anthem.
Oh my gosh. That's fantastic.
That is a great, oh my gosh, what a great story.
Yeah.
So when you say multicultural, cross-cultural, diversified, that's what the Black Chamber represents. And you'd appreciate this, Gregg. Hubie Blake, who was one of the great piano players and composers of his time.
Absolutely.
Too. Great musician. He composed some music and was doing World War II. And he composed some music and he sent it to his buddy down at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, who was the band leader there and in charge of the band for the Army at that point in time for the 24th or 25th. And so the gentleman, Biddle was his name, I believe Biddle, Trooper Biddle, wrote and finished putting the lyrics to it and sent it to Hubie. Hubie took the music after he finished and the words and gave it to Nat King Cole.
Oh,
and Nat
wow.
King Cole sung it. I think I sent that to you. We Are Americans Too.
That all are equal, all are free, and all deserve a chance to pursue their full measure of happiness.
But I'm just saying that whole part of music that this just goes over that most people have no idea. I love that, and it gives me a chance at the Black Chamber banquet, or when we do a thing at Heroes Hall in Orange County at the fairgrounds. I get a chance to use that music.
So Bobby, we know that not only do you have a musical history in your family, but you also have a very fascinating military history. You mentioned that you come from a long line of Buffalo soldiers. And we know that's a term that I'm sure a lot of people have heard, but they don't know what it is. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I sure can. Yeah, after the Civil War, there were over 200,000 colored troops. Mm-hmm. And so the Congress put together a proclamation, or they changed it formed the United States Army, all right, or United States Force. And what they did was with the 200,000 colored troops, they formed two cavalry regiments and 4 infantry regiments. Mm-hmm. They pretty much built the West. And they got the nickname because of the buffalo. And there's various stories about how they did it, but some of the Indians thought that because the buffaloes with the manes and the hair, and when you went after a buffalo, it fought. And wow. The buffalo soldiers were ones that did not desert, that didn't desert, and had a low desertion rate. Wow. And when they fought hard. Fast forward, my dad and my 4 uncles were members of the Buffalo Soldiers, the 9th Cavalry.
Wow.
And they were stationed in Louisiana.
Wow.
And going back to the story, I have 4 or 5 uncles that were Buffalo Soldiers. On my mother's side, I have gone back and done the research, and my mother's maiden name is Vavasour. It's French. We're Creoles from Louisiana. And I went back and did the research, and there were 2 Vavasours listed on Louisiana militia rolls.
Wow.
During 1812. So I've been doing a lot of research with the Buffalo Soldiers.
That does bring us back around to music, because you mentioned this to me yesterday, and the first time that I ever thought to research the Buffalo Soldiers was when I was listening to Bob Marley. Mm-hmm. And I heard his tune and I read the lyrics, and I thought to myself, man, you know, that term sounds so familiar. Where did that come from, and why is he singing about this? And then once I researched, you know, the tradition of all these valiant soldiers, and you know, and the prejudice and racism that followed the path of their courage and how they served the country, and Bob Marley's voice couldn't have said it any better. And I thought, how appropriate, man. A true songwriter is a storyteller and passes on the traditions and keeps the awareness alive of our history and where we are in the present. Really what we wanted to talk a little bit about now was, you know, you've been in Orange County for a long time, and I wanted to ask you a question about when you returned from Vietnam. Before I do that, I wanted to share a story from that time that I wrote. Man, it's a tough one. We've never recorded this song before, and you know, I hadn't yet been drafted, and one of my friends was sent over to Nam, and it was a very tragic set of circumstances at the time, because culturally, you know, marijuana was a felony, and my poor buddy who I grew up with him, Frankie Snee from Carson, California, and so Frankie's pop, you know, caught him smoking pot in his bedroom and called the cops. Cops dragged him out of the house and brought him down, and they gave him a choice to either go to prison or they were going to, you know, send him to the war. So they sent him to the war, and it was so tragic because Frankie didn't return, and it was tough for me because I had been an altar boy my whole life when I was a kid, and served at a lot of funerals and stuff, and I was, you know, really kind of unprepared though for Frank's casket when they presented it, the open casket, and we had to get up from our pew and walk down by it because it just, everything that was happening at that time hit me so hard. So I wrote this song, and I wanted to share it with you. Anyways, it's called Frankie's Song, and it goes like this. I've just returned, and there isn't much I can say now. It's all made me think how each of us handles his personal war. No one's quite sure. His mother was there. She showed me the pictures he'd sent her. The ones from the war, the ones that they'd taken outside her front door. I'm glad there weren't more. And we all stood in line. I only looked 'cause I had to. And somewhere in the crowd, I heard a voice sing this sad tune. Oh, don't they know? anymore without you. The preacher claimed Frank died for his brothers like Jesus did. Let Frank and the good Lord speak about dying, 'cause I'm sure they know. And I'm much too slow to understand. Anyway,
Wow.
it's a
Powerful.
story.
Thank you. Thank you. Powerful.
Yes, we grow and we live and learn through these experiences, and that's just a snapshot in time, and it just reminds me of how precious life is, and it makes me grateful, for the courage of my friends. Mm-hmm. Makes me grateful to be an American, and also, makes me grateful to remember my friend at a time like that. So,
and Bobby, that's one story about someone's experience going to war. We understand that you are also a war veteran. We were hoping you could tell us when exactly did you come back from Vietnam, and what was sort of the journey to now being a part of the OC Black Chamber, and what was that like for you?
I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate that I turned a negative into a positive.
right.
On August the 11th, 1965, down on Manchester and Broadway, there was a recruiting station. I went into the recruiting station, and there was the recruiter, Navy recruiter, said I went in to finish signing my papers and take the tests. And I said, I grew up with Buffalo Soldiers, master sergeants. I don't have any ground pounding. I'm going in the Navy.
Right.
So several days later, fast forward, I'm in boot camp in San Diego, and I get my orders. I was there September 20th, 1965, and sometime in November, I got released to get ready to go to my next duty station, which was China Lake, California. Little did I know that China Lake and Ridgecrest is probably one of the biggest naval ordnance test stations around. So guess where I'm transferred to? San Clemente Island, where nothing but rocks, goats, and naval personnel.
Right.
And I learned to be a fireman. And I think I shared with you before the experience you get when you're in the service. There's two things that happen. Number one, you're preparing for a crisis, or number two, you're in a crisis.
Yeah.
Two things.
Well said.
You prepare for a crisis, or you're in a crisis. So when I got on the ship, which I did in early '67, I flew out to the Philippines, to Clark Air Force Base, and got cultural shock as we drove from Clark Air Force Base down to Subic Bay to Naval Base. Life is different. I mean, even in the worst parts of LA, all right, at least there's paved streets, there's running water, all right. I mean, those stories that you see in National Geographic with water buffaloes and houses on stilts, that's true.
Yep.
All right, and got down there, there's no really cars, there's no air conditioning, all those things that you took for granted here. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
And that's a really great point to make, Bobby.
I had a chance to get out to on the ship, got high line from the USS Cacapon and Oiler to the USS Tripoli.
Oh.
The day high line to the Tripoli, which is part of the memorial story that I told you,
mm-hmm.
to you. I get on the Tripoli, and the next morning we had to go rescue the Forrestal. And that's the ship that McCain was on, and they caught fire. And in that big fire, one of the things that I was trained on, wiped everybody on the flight deck. So they had to do a whole bunch of different stuff.
Right.
It's a big eye opener when you're not even 20 years old yet, and you see reinforced steel bent from fire and all those guys. There ain't nowhere to go, sports fans. There's nowhere to go. It's just you in the water and the good Lord. You got to do your duty. The other thing, so we went back the second time, and the second time is a little different than the first, because now I'm I'm coming into my own, and I'm realizing that life on the flight deck is not for me. And so I decided, let me get back in school. And I did. I re-enrolled. I got my degree and then went to work for a shoe company, for Uniroyal. And then you're looking at the first Black sales rep that ever worked for Adidas in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I'm saying to you is my involvement with the county came with when I was with Adidas and with Pro Kids, because I had to get out in the community. So being in the community was part of my job.
Yep.
Being involved in the community, all aspects of the community.
Wow. Well, Bobby, with your experience with different communities and stuff, that kind of transitions us to another question. Right now there's a lot of national issues, a lot of things that hang in the balance right now on this upcoming election. But one of the things that a lot of people don't think much about, at least from my conversation with people, is that so many of the national problems, national challenges, actually need resolution at the community level. I mean, we have the national problems are almost like a multiplication or a sum of all of the work that's done at the community levels. And if that work isn't done there, then nationally things are going to be way out of balance. And so
I would totally agree with you on that. I got involved with the government, if you will. I got appointed by the governor to be on the California Cultural and Historical Endowment Board, which again had to do with all the different counties in the state.
Wow.
And music and museums and military and all those kinds of stuff. Yeah. And then also got appointed by the governor to be on the California Community College Board of Governors. And what I was very fortunate about when I got on that board, they had nothing, there was no veterans programs. No veterans programs whatsoever. So one of my Vietnam buddies, who was a sergeant in the Marines, Manuel Baca, we were on the board together, and we created the first ever Veterans Affairs Committee.
That's really an inspiring story, and it really illustrates how important it is for people to take some interest in their local elections and in their local affairs, and getting involved there and seeing what the person that lives next door to you thinks, what the businesses that are in your community, how they help one another or don't, and how you can create a strategy to work together.
So, Bobby, we're going to move into another topic now, and this is the topic that has been talked about very globally and in our communities as well, which is Black Lives Matters. Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of people are talking about is this idea of all lives matters. And everyone understands that is true. All lives do matter. But when we're talking about what's going on right now and what's been going on in history, when we say those words, it kind of neglects some of the racial inequality that's been happening in our history and that's still going on today. And what we were talking about is we feel like that mindset sort of develops because a lot of people in different communities just aren't seeing actually what's going on in, communities of color or in communities that have less opportunity. So I was hoping that you had something to say on that.
Oh, I got a couple words. It's funny you said, it is funny when someone said, I heard someone the other day said Black Lives Matter, and then someone did like what you just said, well, all lives matter. And then the retort was, well, if that was true, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And then I had a buddy of mine, we were talking about it the other day, and he says, well, you saved the whales, so I mean, you're gonna get rid of the rest of the fishes?
That's a great analogy.
Well, I'm just trying to bring some interest to the story, if you will. As I shared with you earlier with the COVID, and you're kind of in lockdown and house arrest and all that kind of stuff, and there's nothing to do. And of course, when Black Lives Matter hit, my buddy called me and says, you know what, you got to go to work now. You're not going to gain 300 pounds and look at the back of your eyelids, because you run the Black Chamber.
Right.
So it's coming, and it has. I mean, people and want to get involved. I've had people call and ask about voter registration and voter education. I've got close to 70, 80 people looking for restaurants, like Deals and Ham Bones in Huntington Beach, all these different places. But Orange County's mentality, to be brutally honest, has been you have a business, but you don't promote it as a Black business. You just promote it as a business. Here that people will not attend, or people will.
Oh, wow.
And although I'm watching the change now, but it's taken Black Lives Matter, the second version,
Exactly,
now to make it work. It won't happen overnight, but we've now reached a period in our consciousness in our country where change is coming.
Right, exactly.
It's here.
There's a couple of issues that I think are at stake during this election, and it's something that really isn't getting talked about very much, but I know that there is a lot in the balance. And it's the issue of the future of our military, the present state of our military. And, I'm very proud, and I know everybody that I know is really proud of our brothers and sisters and have great respect for our brothers and sisters who protect to serve our democracy, who often pay the ultimate price to protect this beautiful country that we live in and to help us move forward and learn more about freedom and share more, become better as human beings. But the thing about being in the military is that it's not a soldier's option, to question what the war is about or why we go to war, what we do. But it is a citizen's obligation to stop and think about carefully why, where, when, and if something is good for national policy or not. And so I know as a veteran, I'm certain you have some ideas about that, and specific about our continued action in Afghanistan, and the possibility of how much longer do you think we might be there?
So, I am not in control of what's happening in Afghanistan. I know that it's a volatile area. I know that we had Iraq and Iran and Desert Storm and Desert Shield, and but we've got in and out. But some of that mess, we'll get in trouble on this, we created. All right. And by being in Afghanistan and some of these areas, we're trying to put it out. Now, what's happening now? I have no idea, because a lot is hidden. A lot has been hidden in the last 3 years. The country asked for a change, and they got it. And now we have to deal with it on a different level.
Right, Bobby.
And those that want it to stay the same will come out and vote. Those that want change will come out and vote. Mm-hmm. And then that will determine the outcome of where we go from here in November.
Now on to more music. We're going to end our show, and we actually have a pre-recorded version of this particular song, but we picked it especially for your episode, and it's a tune that I wrote just shortly days after 9/11. And this story, well, what it's about is, it's about the morning of 9/11 when we all woke up. I know we used to watch KTLA News every morning, first thing, and I was getting my socks on. Didn't even have my pants on yet. And I remember exactly where I was. I know everybody does at that one moment. And, we heard the news that morning, And my wife came running in to grab a hold of me and said, geez, turn on KTLA, turn on the news. And then we saw the second plane hit the towers. And I know that, nothing has ever been the same since then. And everybody remembers where they were at that time. But I think that the good thing about being a storyteller is that when we relive certain snapshots of time and space, that it helps us remember and put in perspective where we are now. And so...
And adding another layer to the conversation, he didn't tell you what the name of the song is. It's called Could Not Look Away. And kind of the theme behind it is that this terrible thing has happened, and it's so terrible that it's hard to keep your eyes off of it. And we're kind of making that relation to what's going on in a lot of things that are happening in our country and in the world right now, where there's so many things happening that it's really time to take a look at what's going on, and we cannot afford to take our eyes off of the matter.
This is a story I wrote about 9/11. I remember where I was that morning, that early morning. And I know we all remember where we were. And this song gives us all an opportunity to think about where we are now. A perfect morning, cradled in the hands of God. Sacred silence, sober and young. Sudden violence rained down from the heavens above. Is dead and dying. How can this be? The towers are shaking, and they could not stand, and the hearts were breaking.
The brotherhood of man, all the walls collapsed around us, and all the gods looked down in shame.
Terrible to say, still I could not look away. Now we're haunted, the shadows of a holy war, burning crosses with God on our side. So many losses as mothers watch their children die. Is this holy? How can this be? The towers are shaking in Jerusalem, and the hearts were breaking.
The brotherhood of man, all the walls collapsed around us, and all the gods looked down in shame.
Terrible to say, still we could not look away. Still we must not
look away.
It tells a story that's worth thinking about.
It's very poignant. Thank you.
So, Bobby, it's just this is a time for us to say goodbye, and thank you for sharing this musical, this thoughtful, this deep and human moment with us, and all of our listeners.
Yeah. Bobby, before we go, do you have anything you'd like to leave with our viewers, just as a last thought?
I'm saying that in these turbulent times and stuff that's going on, I'm glad, I don't like what's going on, but I'm glad that y'all in my life now.
Yes.
You wouldn't have been here if this hadn't happened.
That's so right.
God bless you, Bobby. Yes, those are good words, and I agree. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Bobby,
Thank
thank you so much for your insight today. This was such an awesome conversation, and I'm sure we'll have many more of them moving forward.
You got it.
As they say in the music, film at 11.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's start over.
Okay.
I don't remember what we say at the beginning.
I don't know. We said, yes, we made it through another episode.
Yes, we did. We made it through another episode of
One World, One People,
a musical revolution.
revolution.
My name is Jenisa Castro.
And my name is Gregg Castro.
And please join us again next week. We have another very, very special guest coming up. And just as a reminder, we are taking donations for this episode as well. And the donation link will be in the description below. So click that link. Join us next week. We're going to have a good time.
We'll be here.
So if you're wondering about Wonderland, stop your wondering and take my hand. Look with love and you'll